Welcome, Shandi.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Shandi is going to be one of 32 authors at the Fall Book Festival that's taking place at the historic Greer Depot on October 18th in the wonderful historic Greer Depot that is in Greer, South Carolina. And we're going to have like 48 different genres represented, somewhere between 150 and 175 book titles. So share with us about your book title.
So, my book is called World Changers, and
Hmm.
I describe it as a collection of mini biographies. It has 10 chapters, and the chapters are not really sequential or anything like that, but each chapter is sort of an introduction to a different person.
Hmm.
Um, a different real person. The oldest one that I write about was from the 1500s, and the most recent was from the early 20th century, and
Hmm.
they represent three continents, I think. So for some people, the whole book might be a great read, but for other people, there might just be one or two stories that they want to read or that are new to them.
So how did you pick who you did your? Because you've only got 10 people, so how did you pick those 10?
Well, there are a couple answers for that. One is there were going to be 12, and then I made them too long. And um,
I like it.
I can be a little long-winded, but I realized that I had like cut and pared as much as I could stand to do, and I didn't want to shortchange the people that were in. And I thought I would just
Okay.
rather tell fewer stories and do a better job. So that was the most immediate reason. And the book is envisioned as the first one in a series, and so I do have some people that got bumped to a couple later ones. Um,
Ah.
so I would say that the people that are in were mostly kind of picked by accident that in that way. But
Hmm.
I think a common theme kind of emerged as I was working on the book. At least I hope so. I've asked people if they notice any common theme. But I guess they just were people who made a big impact on me personally, and
Okay.
or I felt like their stories are like so important and exciting and relatable, and it seemed to me like not enough people knew them. So there are people that I want to write about and I want to research that I just kind of felt like everyone already knows that story.
Hmm.
And there are some people that I picked more because I felt like nobody had really told their story.
So you said that you've got this is going to be part of a series. So how many books in this series are you looking for?
The hope is three.
Okay.
And so I'm already behind getting the second one to the publisher, but hopefully that is going to happen very soon. It's nearly ready. It needs some editing,
Okay.
but really, like I was saying, I haven't done it in the best way at all. I have done the stories kind of separately, and then it was like afterwards that I was deciding what should go together.
Mm.
So several chapters are already written for two and three, but then I didn't feel like they belonged, and so um, yeah. So I wouldn't recommend it. It's sort of very organic and accidental.
So are you a plotter or are you a pantser? Do you have everything nice and neatly organized, or is it more you've done your research and when you go to write it just goes right out onto the paper?
It's interesting you ask that because I think it depends a little bit. This is the first actual whole book that I have had published. And what
Okay.
I've had published in the past is kind of journalistic writing
Mhm.
or academic writing.
Okay.
And so I have chapters in academic books, and then I've had articles just in local publications. And I feel like with both of those types of writing, I am pretty organized and I have much more of a system.
Mhm.
As you can kind of tell from what I just said, this was not that. took me a while to gain any clarity on what I was doing. And certainly the same goes for other, somewhat more independent or creative projects. I have this novel, which we can all hope will never see the light of day, that is just a nightmare. So that was something interesting I found out about myself. I think I can be really organized in a lot of contexts. And I think I'm an organized writer. But with this, it was very different. So um,
Mhm.
I the research is organized, but then the moment where you decide to stop researching
Mhm.
and say it's enough and start writing, it is tricky. And so the writing is much more about generating this massive, sprawling, rough draft with
Mhm.
little sentences in it that say things like, come back and explain this later. And then the editing process is just crucial. I mean, obviously, that's always the case. But for this,
Yes.
especially, I just would sort of write all this stuff I had learned. And then sometimes I would come back and think, this was interesting and I enjoyed learning about this, but it has nothing to do with the story. And all this just needs to come
Mm.
out. So, yeah,
So you mentioned about a novel that you said you hope never hits the light of day.
I think we should all hope that. But it's a good exercise for me as a writer. And it exists just like this, it exists in multiple episodes with nothing connecting them on paper.
Oh,
So
okay.
instead of writing it sequentially, which would have been wise, I sort of have written like the scenes as they come to me, and
Mhm.
yes, it's quite dreadful. But I have kind writers groups that are helping me with it. So you never know. It could end up being not too horrible someday, but it's a mess for sure. Yeah, it makes no sense on its own. So
Okay.
that was interesting for me. That turned out to be how I write, and it was different. It's different from writing something shorter. I think that's where it gets away from me. When I have written, like academic papers that have to be a certain length and on a certain topic,
Mhm.
um, or when I've written like articles for the newspaper, the step where you kind of organize everything is so much faster. But for me anyway, the first time you're dealing with something longer, it was just a whole different thing and more like an octopus. So
So how does your academic writing tie in with or does it not tie in with your book?
probably too much, if anything.
Okay.
I think academic writing is excellent training for research.
Mhm.
Um, and so I have gotten, from a few readers something that I'm not really sure is. I'm like, is that a compliment or really the opposite of a compliment? Which is sort of like, oh, it's so well researched. And I think that is
Hmm.
code for like, that is like so much more than anybody wanted to know about that. And
Okay.
so, I tell my students that any kind of writing is good discipline for any kind of writing. I really think that that is true. And academic writing really equips you for research, like I said. Um, and so for me, it feels good and it feels enjoyable to sort of do the research as if I were approaching something academic, but then kind of make it more narrative and more creative and kind
Okay.
of have fun with it. But I will say that's also always the tide that I'm like standing up against is like too academic of a tone or too much detail. And
Mm,
so I
okay.
would get people to say, like, okay, here I'm just telling a story. Like, is there anything that needs to come out? So it's just a
Mhm.
story. um, but I,
Were the topics with what you've written for academics, are the topics anywhere close to your book?
in some cases, there's a little bit of overlap, I would say.
Okay.
Um, and not in all. The other thing about having done academic writing is you lose perspective on what people do and don't need to know. That I found an interesting challenge. So I did a graduate thesis on the French Revolution,
Okay.
and so anytime I'm writing about anyone who lives in the 1700s,
Mhm.
I felt like I really needed feedback on, like, can I just mention this, or do I need to explain what it is, or
Okay.
can I just like not explain what it is, so that you're not taking people out of the story.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the stories that I tell is about the yellow fever epidemic in
Mm.
Philadelphia, very
Mhm.
early in the nation's history,
Mhm.
and I went down this long rabbit trail. I was like, do I need to say what yellow fever is? Like, do we know what
Mm.
yellow fever
Okay.
is? Is
Yeah.
it relevant? How it's transmitted? Like, how much do we need? And then when does it not feel like a story anymore? But that was so interesting because I was writing it in 2019, and I was like,
Oh.
I think people don't understand what it was like to live through an epidemic and how much fear there was. I feel like we don't have an imaginative grasp of that, and how can I try to kind of convey that? And then lo and behold, we all got
Yeah, and then 2020
a little
happened.
help with that. So it was like, okay, that works.
So when did your book end up coming out then? When did
It
you?
was tremendously delayed by COVID. So it
Yeah.
ended up coming out in May of 23 or two,
Okay.
I think. Yeah. It was very, very delayed. But I was just very happy. Like, I wasn't sure. I was like, well, this timing is just terrible. I think I turned in the final draft in like, you know, maybe like February of 2020. And so I had accepted that that might just be the end of that, and I was just so
Mm.
happy that it existed at all. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, because that was just at the
right.
forefront.
And also the my publisher, they have an office in Greenville, but they also have an office in Europe.
Mm.
And so they had like much more rigorous shutdowns, and they had employees who couldn't come in, and they had people who were sick and whose family members were, and it was just a whole thing. And so
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yay, it actually exists.
Never mind. They actually know what a
Right. That's right. People, this some of this will resonate with people in a way that I didn't see coming.
So you said that you're a teacher. What all do you teach?
um, English,
Okay.
specifically literature. So
Mhm.
this year I'm teaching British literature and world literature. So I have a stack
Ooh.
of papers on Beowulf to grade this week, and then we're about halfway through Homer's Odyssey. So
Ooh.
yeah, fun stuff. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
So you primarily this is all fiction and are or this is all nonfiction. Do you see yourself writing fiction?
Um, I am really bad at writing fiction. I continue to do it because I feel like it's a good exercise and I would like to be better. But
Hmm.
I am not confident that the fiction I write will ever be good enough for an audience. I guess we'll just see. um, I do feel like I kind of have a sweet spot with nonfiction that is narrative.
Hmm.
Um, and I think part of that is related to or is helped by teaching, where you're
Okay.
kind of like, okay, I need to communicate to you something that is factual, but I want you to think about what it would be like to be there. Like, like
Okay.
these were real people and these were extraordinary things that happened. Like, I don't want you to see this as dry or boring or distant. So how can
Yeah.
I build those bridges for you and be like, this is what it would have been like to be there. Like, how would you have felt or what would you have done? So it helps with that for sure. um,
Awesome. Well, I am so looking forward to seeing your book, seeing you in person in October. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, and I think it's unique about this festival just how much diversity there is of genre. And I mean it's the definition of something for everyone.
Yeah,
And like from my perspective, just do all your Christmas shopping and cross it off the list in October.
exactly. We're going to have
There's no
children's
downside to
books. We're going to
that.
have young adult books. We're going to have
Yeah.
adult books. We're
Right. That's what I
fiction,
think is so neat about
nonfiction,
it.
and
Like the only thing it has in common is just that these are local writers, and that's
well,
really neat.
and actually, we have 9 states that will be represented,
How
so
wonderful!
we
Yeah,
even have a variety there, so we
that is
have
really exciting.
local authors, we have authors coming in from other states. Some of those authors are actually from here and then moved out of state.
Oh,
I
sure.
know I
Okay,
know for sure 2 of our authors from out of state, that is for
have
sure the case.
connections. Yeah,
Yeah. And so, it's gonna the
there are a
diversity
lot of
that we
amazing
have.
writers in this area doing amazing work. You
Yeah.
know, anytime I go to, a meeting of a writers group, like I sometimes do just in somebody's living room or whatever, I always just think, oh, I am the person who doesn't belong here. Like, look at all of these amazing and talented people. And I feel that way about this as well, since this is only my first book, but it's just such a tremendous opportunity, not only to be part of it, but to be able to learn from people that are so talented in so many different ways. Really, really neat.
Yeah, we and that is one thing that I strive for in all of my events is how much diversity can we put in one room?
Yeah,
How can we get to where we have this variety of books that someone can go in and go, "Okay, I'm looking for whatever genre it is." And
right.
there's someone.
Just literally something for everyone.
Yeah.
I, I, I always say that to my students. They don't believe me, but I say, nobody doesn't like books.
Yeah.
There is a book that you will love, and if you haven't met it yet, I understand. But like,
Yeah.
there is a book for everybody for sure.
And I'm sure we will have it there because we've got, right around 150, 175 titles
Absolutely fantastic.
that are going to be there. So that's like that number just is staggering to me.
And downtown Greer is just a wonderful, fun, beautiful place to be on a weekend in October.
And
Can't go
there's
wrong,
going
really.
and there's going to be the artisan makers market in the park.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah,
So there's already something else going on downtown. So come down, visit us, visit the artisan makers market,
absolutely.
and there's a ton of restaurants
Oh
and
yeah, in the
wonderful
park, and
food. And
it'll be beautiful. Yeah, so fun.
well, thank you for taking some time out of your day to come in and chat about your book and your writing. And
Thank
I
you. I really appreciate it.
I will see you in October.
Thanks so much. See you there.